What's up everyone, it's Iceman Oz, aka Jay, and in this video we're going to be talking about first-person shooters in general and how they've generally become more casualized as time has gone on. We've seen the addition of things like Molotovs, anti-air lock-ons, and things like this added to the game for the more casual players to be able to get those epic kills, quote unquote. The problem with this is that over time the players who try to build up their skill have a lot of nuisance when it comes to this because it adds variance that shouldn't really exist, and that's why games like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 and the earlier Battlefield games were so much more successful and they had a lot more players, because back then it was more about your skill and rather not about how many times you run into a claymore that was placed randomly somewhere on the map. So alongside me, I've got my buddy Lucas. What's up, man?
Yeah, not much. Just chilling, you know.
Chilling like
enjoying life at the moment.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear, man, and hopefully all of you out there are enjoying it as well. So if any of this interests you, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show, and if I could talk, that would be really nice. So let's start off with the first topic, and that is the fire and forget weapons. Now, when it comes to Battlefield games recently, they've tended to gone down the route of Call of Duty, where a lot of the time you can just hip fire weapons and, you know, you can really just get kills easily, and this wasn't the case in previous Battlefield games. Things like suppression made sure that that wasn't the case. Now, a lot of people were against suppression, but what they didn't realize was back in Battlefield 3, if you tap fired, you could actually hit through the suppression. It was another, like, one of those elements that increased the time to kill, so you weren't dying instantly, and
it elevated the people of skill beyond those who were just spraying and praying as well.
Absolutely. Like, that was something that was there to prevent that, and they took it out because too many people in the community bitched about it. And that's, you know, there comes a point where, as developers, you got to start listening to yourselves over the
It's
community.
a game mechanic I can't quite understand, but it's the same for everybody. Take it out.
Yeah, take it out. It makes too much sense. Let's just add 14 different types of claymores that kill you from 15 meters away. That's a real fucking good idea, you guys. This is great. But
Claymore specialist.
yeah, there's too many 12-year-olds on the forums on Battlelog. That's the problem. I know that my subscribers
Some
are
of them
grown
aren't
ups.
12-year-olds either.
Yeah, that's the saddest part. They're actual, yeah. But what do you think about this change when it comes to specifically the weapons and how? Because, and the other topic that we're going to delve into is how a lot of the weapons perform the same. When you think about it, it sucks that we've gone down this route, because if you want people to continue to play the game and build up over time, shouldn't you try and appease those people as much as possible? I mean, if they've paid full price for your game, they are going to put some time into it, you know. It just seems that they're appealing towards children, and really, when you think about it, the majority of people who play video games are children because they have the most free time in their hands. Grown adults have to go to work, they have to do their thing. A lot of adults don't have a lot of time. Children generally have more time for it, so they try to appease them generally, and that does suck.
I think it's twofold here. The fire and forget weapons, the leave where you are, traps and things like that adds a variance to the game that cannot be predicted and that cannot be countered, unless you're extremely aware of seeing those bloody black lines across the screen, or you generally know, particularly like in Call of Duty, where people hide or where people camp, where people are going to place those particular traps. It's a little bit annoying moving, and it's just something you just like. Why is it there? The fact that someone who died 2 seconds earlier can still kill you from the other side of the map is fucking annoying every time that happens. And I think that's probably just more of a... It could just be me and you thinking that it's frustrating. It's more of a personal thing, that it just doesn't need to be there. But I think there's a lot of people who hate that. You see people playing these games on Twitch and they get killed by a claymore, and the first thing out of their mouth is the F word. It's fuck, that's happened again. Especially when it happens more than once and it's the same player who generally does it. When it comes to the weapons that have no real variance, I think it's boring. It's really boring to have 10 LMGs that fire the same, to have 10 assault rifles that fire the same, to have The only real difference is the way from what I've seen now, is how the pistols operate, and
Yeah.
that's sad.
Yeah, I
It
get more
really
fun out of
is.
the pistols than the
Yeah,
rifles nowadays, and
it,
that just shows you where things are at, and that's because they've listened. You know, again, they've listened too much to the community because they want more weapons, more this, more that, more that. You know, just design your game. The reason that, okay, this is a message to DICE specifically. There is a reason why people are now playing a game, because you did it your way. And I understand that it's good to sometimes listen to the community. The community map project was absolutely excellent, but there's a time where you have to put your foot down when it comes to core decisions and you know and go with
well,
that.
it's the saying that goes, I think is quite good, is that in all fairness, the consumer doesn't know what they want until you tell them what they want. That's what advertising and marketing is all about. And I think it's the same with video games. People like you, me, and other people on YouTube can say, "This is what'll make a great game." But in all fairness, we could turn around tomorrow, see a concept we've never thought about in our entire lives, see a game we've never thought about, and then just have our minds blown. It's like, wow, why has no one ever thought of this? And it's not something that we fed into or anyone else has come up with. It's the developer.
Right.
I mean, look at back in the early 90s with Doom. No one thought about first-person shooters until that came out. No one thought about competitive first-person shooters until Counter-Strike went mainstream. MOBAs, things like that. Nobody knew they wanted them until they came along, and we could sit here all day and say, in reality, we don't know how, first of all, how practical it is to implement, and second of all, how good it'll be until it's actually stress tested and in the game and other people playing it.
Right.
However, the variance of weapons and the move towards taking out mechanics that means you've got to have skill in order to play the game. Going into this first-person casual effect really is dumbing down first-person shooters. I know it's not. I know first-person shooters aren't a thinking man's game. In all fairness,
well, sometimes. Well, no, that's not entirely true. They are. I mean, there is a meta to playing squad deathmatch in Battlefield 3. You have to know where the tank is going to spawn. You know where the players are going to spawn. There is a meta within that. It is definitely a thinking man's game. Like definitely the smarter player will do well. But I understand where you're coming from. But I get where you're coming from though. Like in these recent games, it becomes less so of that and more about the random variance that's coming in. That's the problem. And the other thing is, like, so what are we actually talking about when we mention this? So we're talking about anti-air lock-ons. What happened to the days where you could just, you know, where you had to shoot the thing down or RPG it? I liked it in Battlefield Hardline where, you know, you can fire shots with your gun and take it down. That does require some sort of aim and some sort of skill. The reason that they put it in was because that there's no real chance to take these vehicles down if you don't have this automatic lock-on. Well, if there's no real chance to take it down, if that's the only way you can do it is just by having a tacky automatic lock-on system, then you need to reassess what you're doing. The same thing with grenade cooldowns in Star Wars Battlefront. You know, what happened to the days where you had a set amount of grenades you could throw? Like, what is this thing where it just constantly respawns? Like,
or recharges and stuff like that. Yeah,
like it's just dumbing things down. It's a constant thing that's going to keep on happening because of the audience that they're trying to placate to, and that really sucks. So,
going back to what you were saying about the smarter player knows how the maps work and where everything spawns, but it's this variance. It's these little annoyances, these lock-on weapons, these leave and blow up weapons, these traps, the lack of suppression, the lack of skill for hip fire and things like that. It's those little variances that makes a skilled player go, oh. You know, when you come up against a player who you know shouldn't have killed you but did because, I don't know, the tick rate isn't right on the server, or you ran into a claymore you weren't expecting, or a player's running around or playing in a certain way that you just don't expect, you know, 6 months in for someone to be playing like, it just drives you insane.
Absolutely.
And it does boil down to this sort of casual effect that these games are starting to
implement, and that's game. And we're talking about the Call of Duty games. We're talking about Battlefield 4. We're talking about Battlefield Hardline. We're talking about Star Wars Battlefront. And I feel like the last decent the last decent first-person shooter was Battlefield 3. I mean, Hardline I enjoy to an extent, but it does have these issues, like I said. So, but with that being said, I feel like we're going around circles here. I want to wrap this up. I want to say this: when it comes down to it, I think the developers should try and placate towards building up your skill, because that is what gaming is. A part of that immersion is building up over time and becoming better, and it's not about how much you level up your character. I don't care about that.
Do it, baby.
Yeah, it's how you do it in the game. You know, it's not what you do. It's not how whatever. But with that being said, whatever. With that being said, hopefully you guys understand where we're coming from, and I think a lot of you guys will agree with what we're saying. And if you don't, let us know in the comments section below just what you think about this, where you think first-person shooters are going to. But I'd like to thank Lucas Gaming for joining me. Appreciate it, man. But with that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like, share, subscribe, and peace.